Well, the first is that we had recommendations that were put in place by the Kimberley Process itself regarding how Zimbabwe should proceed before it could be allowed to sell diamonds. One of those issues related to ensuring that, for example, Marange Chiadzwa area is demilitarized. It also sought to ensure that the human rights violations that were taking place there, which were indeed acknowledged, were put to an end, largely because they were attributed to the security sector. And secondly, thirdly, the issue of the smuggling of the Chiadzwa diamond from Zimbabwe was also put in the spotlight. So when eventually the past monitor of the Kimberley Process, Mr. French, Abi Chikane, then recommended that the ban on the sale of diamonds from Zimbabwe should be uplifted. I think everybody within civil society was worried that there was no proper basis for which that could be done, as even right now as we are speaking, the smuggling of diamonds that have been taking place through Mozambique and ultimately some Zimbabwe diamonds finding their way to India and Israel has not stopped. So basically we are saying that if the Kimberley Process has failed to follow its own recommendations as it had been prescribed in Namibia. Some of these, it becomes irrelevant. It becomes an organ that also fails the people of the Democratic Republic of Congo. It becomes an organ that fails even to amend its own constitutive act to ensure that it embraces human rights, because most of the protocols and the conventions that we have currently worldwide recognize that at the center of any activity, at the center of any intervention, any such convention or a protocol should recognize human rights. But the Constitutive Act, the Kimberley Process failed to take an opportunity in the United States to amend its own protocol, and we are worried. It's constitutive.
All right, Mr. Shumba, just hold the line there. Let's get the ambassador to respond, because what I've also heard, Ambassador, is that people have said, well, the Kimberley Process has done well between 2000 and 2013, but as alluded to by Mr. Shumba, that it needs to change, it needs to evolve.
Yeah, Koran, certainly 10 years after, we've got to adapt to new conditions and new trends in any conflict where diamonds have been indicated as a factor. One of the things that we've done, we have raised the matter. It's on the agenda that we needed to sit, all of us, and address these issues. The minister yesterday, together with other leaders from civil society, from the diamond industry, met and discussed this matter, that let's put all the issues on the agenda. Let's talk about them. Let's see what practical solutions we can be able to find to avoid precisely the issue that people must not feel that they've got no opportunity to raise the issues within the Kimberley Process itself, because we are saying we are the Kimberley Process. Now, anybody says the Kimberley Process has failed or should do one or two things, should be here with us and should be raising the issues and say, we as the Kimberley Process have failed to do the following. Let's begin to move and do so.
Are you acknowledging, though, the issues that have been raised about Zimbabwe in particular and the Marange diamond fields? I mean, it's not the first time that we're hearing from Mr. Shumba. The Partnership for Africa last November, accused Robert Mugabe's elite of stealing at least $2 billion worth of diamonds from the Marange fields. Is it the first time you're hearing about these complaints, Ambassador?
No, but that's precisely the Kimberley Process. 3 years was spent, 3 full years, looking at this particular issue of Zimbabwe, and came to the conclusion that Zimbabwean diamonds can now be marketed as conflict-free, because taking into consideration, and for very exceptional reasons, outside of its mandate, by the way, and having convinced Zimbabwe to accept a reality that they have to be monitored in order to come to a conclusion as to what is the status of their own compliance, because we've got minimum standards that every African producing country or diamond producing country must adhere to. Zimbabwe willingly subjected itself for 3 years to that process. And thanks to the NGO community, they were active in doing so, in raising the issues, and we've been engaging them. Now, Kolana, what I'm saying is that it's not just a matter of us saying we're aware. We are dealing with the matter now. We are engaging each and everyone, including PAC, who have raised the issue so that we can find practical solutions.
Sure. I just wonder, for instance, I've heard the finance minister in Zimbabwe saying this over and again, that they are not getting the revenues that are due to them out of the sale of these diamonds, that a lot of the revenues do not go to the fiscus. Have you been able to talk to high-profile Zimbabwean politicians such as the finance minister?
Yes, not only the finance minister. We have discussed this matter with him. Saturday, there was in Kempton Park a meeting of civil society. And there was a member of parliament, who is the chair of the portfolio committee on mining, who also raised this matter. And we were discussing it. I spent half a day with them, discussing the very issue and trying to say how best do we work around finding solutions to some of the problems so that proceeds from diamonds can also begin to, where in cases it does not happen.
Sure. And what are the possible solutions, though, Ambassador? Are there suggestions that perhaps suspend the sale of diamonds from Marange until you find a solution?
No, but the process is that can be followed in order to ensure that some of those things can happen. In terms of the minimum requirements and standards, all we have to do is just to, and if civil society in Zimbabwe, as Mr. Shumba is saying, and if they're serious about it, they must raise the matter with us so that we can go once again and check on the ground. But also they must raise the matter with the portfolio committee chairperson, who I spoke to, so that some of these issues can be also explored through the national institutions that exist in Zimbabwe.
Mr. Shumba, why are you not raising these matters then with the Kimberley Process directly, with the chairperson, Ambassador Nhlapo?
Well, I'm happy to hear the ambassador inviting civil society to raise some of these issues. In fact, indeed, they have been raised previously. I think one should mention that it was really a disappointment that when Mr. Abi Chitane was monitor of the Kimberley Process, he is the one that squandered 3 years of opportunities and failed to ensure that accountability and transparency were restored in Marange. And in spite of the fact that there is a wealth of evidence about illegal activities that still continue to happen in Marange, but of also a serious worry presently is the fact that there are more players involved. In particular, the ambassador mentioned the civil society. In Zimbabwe, we now have a dual civil society arising out of the political polarization of the country. And in particular, in the diamond sector, we have seen the cropping up and mushrooming of government-allied civil society organizations that are usually invited to these Kimberley gatherings. And it's a major concern. And when the ambassador says he embraces civil society, I hope he means that across the board.
Okay, Shumba, just a very last and quick one. What should happen to the diamonds that are coming out of Marange?
Well, to begin with, I think there should be greater accountability, meaning that before those diamonds are supposed to be exported, there needs to be, firstly, mechanisms that prevent the illicit trade in the diamonds, and secondly, to ensure greater human rights responsibility of the security sector involved in Chiazo Diamonds, and thirdly, to stop the continual bleeding of the country.